It's game week 37. We are now in the final stretch of the championship season. And my, where does the time go? With me to predict this game week in the championship, it's my co-host. It's the lovely Mark Ryman. How are we getting on, Mark?
Feeling lovely, thanks very much. Yeah, plenty to play for still, though, right? Automatics, playoffs, maybe the relegation. Not sure so much on
a mini league in the relegation zone, hasn't it?
But it's a bit of a mini league everywhere, apart from the fight to stay in the middle. But even then, there's not many teams cut adrift anywhere in the league, which is really interesting. The Leeds Pompey result obviously showed anyone can still beat anyone. Well, apart from, Luton. But most teams
can you believe that? They beat Leeds.
I can actually. Fair play. I can. Do you know why I can believe that? Phil. That's why I can believe that. It's the kiss of death. You did it. You're responsible for Sunderland's downturn in form, and then Sheffield United slightly earlier in the season, although picked up again. And Phil, I'm afraid, I think is responsible for the Leeds draw and loss in the last two games after he bigged them up, right?
Yeah, look, as soon as anyone from this channel backs your team, it's the kiss of death. So let's get let's get a smooching. Whose game week are we ruining this week? Let's kick this off with Burnley versus West Brom.
Yeah, we're going to keep these ones brief because obviously it's a double game week and lots of fixtures coming thick and fast. I've gone for your classic 1-0. For me, Burnley wouldn't have won the game against Luton 4-0, as much as we do like to berate our own team, and Burnley certainly deserve to win it. No sour grapes at all, but a man sent off after 18 minutes is bound to skew that result. I think attacking wise, they're still struggling. I say struggling in the smallest possible way because they're conceding absolutely nothing the other end. I know Cardiff put one against them, but yeah, they're at home they are unstoppable defensively. West Brom ain't scoring. They're a good team, but they're not scoring. Burnley 1, West Brom 0.
So I've gone for a 1-1 here, mainly based on the fact that Burnley have conceded against who was it that they conceded against? Yeah, they conceded against Cardiff, and West Brom only one loss in their last 5. Since then, it's been draw, win. So logically, the next one will be a draw, and that's why I've gone for a 1-1.
That's great predicting. That's fantastic.
Trends.
Here we go. I think Cardiff. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Cardiff did score against them, but I think that's the exception, not the rule from the last few games. But hey, we'll see, right?
Yeah, we will see. We will. But on to Cardiff. That's a perfect segue. Cardiff versus Luton.
Yeah, all hope and no logic, really. I've gone Cardiff 1, Luton 2 because Luton need to win it, and this is biased completely. The gap is currently 5. If Luton want to stand any chance of staying up this season, they need to win the game. I actually think it's going to polarise. For me, they lose or maybe even draw. They're down. They're certainly down if they lose it. If they win, I think actually Luton suddenly could stay up. The reason, though, those thinking more logically than me would say that's a difficult task, is that Luton Town have won one away game all season, and they are absolutely hopeless on the road against a Cardiff side that haven't had great results of late, but they've put in some decent performances. Only narrowly lost against Burnley, as you said, only narrowly lost against Sunderland away as well. I think they're a slightly better team than their position suggests, and I don't think Luton are. Having said that, completely bias-ridden 2-1 prediction for me.
I've gone along the same lines as you. Well, you can actually watch the full match preview. It's going to be up on our channel tomorrow. These are going to be dropping on the same day. I'll get the match preview out probably tonight. But anyway, I've gone along the same lines, mainly based on the fact that Mark McGuinness has declared we're ready now. The longest pre-season in history. It's only taken 36 games. But Luton Town are now ready to play football, and brace yourself because I have predicted Cardiff City 1, Luton Town 5.
Oh, yeah, go on, put some money on that one. I'm really sorry, Cardiff fans. That is borderline disrespectful.
Yeah, I might put a cheeky pound on that. It'll probably net me about 600.
$1 million. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Christ. Yeah. All right then. And if it comes in, I'm sorry, that's the kind of prediction that if it comes in, you've got to do something, I'm afraid. So just have a think about that one.
Yeah, get your thoughts in the comments below. What should I do if it is Luton Town 5, Cardiff 1? Let me know. One away win on the road all season, and Luton Town are going to,
which was a very tight 1-0. Yeah, exactly. Scored by a player who has been out for the last, 5-6 months. But anyway,
and we could have drawn that as well because when Pelly just slipped through.
A couple of occasions right at the end.
Exactly. Right, on to some teams that actually are fighting. One fighting to stay up, and the other fighting for the playoffs. It's Derby County versus Coventry City. Will Frank Lampard get a warm welcome back to Pride Park?
No. My guess is no. I don't think it'll be that hostile, but I don't think Derby fans remember his time that fondly, considering he didn't get him up and he should have done. But, actually that season now looks like a beacon of hope compared to the following ones that were an absolute car crash, leading them to lose all their money and because of their ownership and go down to League One. But anyway, no, I don't think he'll get a great reception, I hope, but I do think he'll get the 3 points. It has to be said, that Derby did amazingly against Blackburn. I think they were 2-0 up within about 10 minutes. Almost couldn't believe it.
It was atrocious. It was
absolutely
Luton-esque
horrendous.
defending.
Yeah, it was horrendous. You're absolutely right. Taking chances though, so give them credit for that. Blackburn just couldn't scrape their way back into the game in the Eustace Derby. But no, I think 2-0 to Cov. It takes some bottle, it has to be said, to throw away a 2-goal lead and then bring it back in the last minute as well. It just shows where teams are at confidence-wise. They've got the team, we know that. It was great to see Hadji Wright back on the pitch as well, just in the endings of that game, and we know how important he'll be. I think they're starting to convince me that they could do it through the playoffs. I know there's 2 very, very good teams that are going to be favourites above them in Sunderland plus one other, but they're the ones with momentum at the moment, and whoever doesn't make second place will still have a huge points tally for third, but obviously not making second place, as Leeds showed last season, has a really big effect. But anyway, that's all for the future. Derby County 0, Coventry City 2 for me.
You're right when you say it's all about momentum, and Cov are coming into the playoffs with crazy momentum. No one wants to face them. However, I think Derby, that although the first 2 goals were shocking defending, I think Eustace has got a bit of fight into the team. They actually care. When they lost to Borough, when they conceded to Borough, you could see them all drop to the grounds. They were like, That is fight. Whereas when I can compare it to Luton, when Luton concede a goal late on, or no one cares. But Derby, they care. So I've gone Derby 1, Cov 1 here. Congrats to Cov as well, because they've just hit I think it's the best win streak in their history. They've just broken a record. So fair play to Cov. I still am not sold on Lampard. I still think
me neither.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we said it way back in our championship prediction, our table prediction at the beginning of the season. Cov have one of the best squads in the league. And I don't know what happened with Robbins. No idea. Maybe it was all Lady Vivash, and Robbins is just an absolute charlatan. He's done a great job, but I think Derby, they're going to be up for the fight at Pride Park. Their home form, it's all right.
They're just not good enough for me as a team. You're right about their fight, though. I just don't think they're good enough to stay up. I think actually on paper they're the worst team in the league. But even worse than Plymouth, I think actually on paper, with the injuries that they've got as well. I'm including that there. But you're right, they have got the fight, which is more than can be said for the other 2 teams down there. So it could well happen. You never know. A lot to go for the fight.
You never know. Look, can you imagine if a Derby and Luton double comes in? You know, it'll push that 1 million bet up to 2 million. Who knows?
Yeah, well, if it's 5-1, it will. Yeah, that's for sure.
Right, on to Middlesbrough versus QPR.
Yeah, I found this is another one tough to predict because both teams coming off in different form, although QPR have been doing okay up until the last 3 games, and then obviously not so much now. Borough were terrible. They got 2 wins against Derby and Stoke, and again, you know, they're 2 good teams to face, but then they lose against Swansea in their last game. So I found it quite difficult to predict it, but I've gone for a tight Borough win. I've gone for a 2-1 win because their form is better than QPR's recent form, at least. So I'm going to go with that. QPR seem to have dropped off a little bit now. There's nothing to play for, is there, if you're QPR really at this point? They're not going down. They're not getting playoffs. So I think there's a bit of fight that's taken out of them. And as soon as that happens, as you just said in the previous match, things go out the window a little bit. So, yeah, 2-1 Borough.
Yeah, QPR went on that insane run of form, but it wasn't sustainable. If they had sustained it, they could have made a late dash for the playoffs or a sort of mid-season dash for the playoffs. Tremendous turnaround that they've had. But, yeah, it's sort of, you know, petered out now. Borough, on the other hand, I said it on Champ Chat. It'll be in the link. Link is in the description below. Check it out. I said whenever Borough went forward against Swansea, they all the players looked like they were half cut, absolutely half cut, and their finishing has been atrocious. They reverted back to the early season form of when they were just taking loads of shots and wide over. Yeah, I don't know what's happened there to them, and they are pretty much shooting themselves in the foot. And I'll be very surprised if Gibson wasn't on the lookout for who is going to replace Michael Carrick, and we could see a change there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, me too. I think, as you said, they've done this a lot through streaks in other seasons, but particularly this season just seems like an absolute wasted opportunity. The playoffs have been wide open for a while for teams, and nobody really wanted it apart from Cov. There's a few other teams that can be considered guilty of that as well. But you're right. I think change of manager is due at Borough. And they need to keep hold of their players for longer. Their best players do only seem to stay there for a season. All right, they get good moves.
Can't say no to 20 mil.
No, exactly. They get good moves. You're right. It's just that consistency, isn't it? That's the problem. But there we go. I still think they'll edge out this one.
Yeah, I actually didn't predict that one. 0-0 for me. Two sides that are going to sort of cancel each other out. Right, on to Portsmouth versus Plymouth Argyle.
Yeah, I've gone for a Pompey win, which isn't a surprise after the incredible result they got at home at the weekend. I mean, their goalkeeper, wow. what an incredible performance. I don't know whether you saw some of the saves. And to be fair, though, Pompey were not, under the cosh the entire game as well. It's worth saying that. Yes, Leeds' XG was far higher. Of course it was. It's always going to be. But Pompey had a fair bit of the game and I think deserved to take the lead when they did too. I thought they were brilliant. And at home, they've shown a real steeliness about them. Very difficult to beat. And Plymouth, meanwhile, are absolute toilet. So, and that's it. Their new manager bounce, all of that stuff about confidence and everything else, and fight and that amazing gladiator type speech has sort of gone out the window now. And yeah, they're just not good enough, unfortunately, especially not with the players they sold in January. 2-1 Pompey.
Yeah, and that's quite generous. Got 2-0 Pompey here. Plymouth, yeah, absolutely agree with you. I feel that the cup run sort of has left a massive hangover. It's completely depleted them. They're knackered. They look like they've ran 20 marathons back to back now. There's only so much defending you can do. Portsmouth, I think they're clear. Congrats, Portsmouth. Only one loss in their last 5 against the mighty Luton Town. So, just saying. Right, Stoke versus Blackburn Rovers.
I went for 1-1. I find it difficult, this one. I think Stoke, this 3-2 against Coventry can go one of two ways, really. I mean, Robbins is going to be absolutely gutted, isn't he? But they did show actually loads of attacking threat in that game. You know, they had plenty of the game. It reminded me a little bit of watching a lot of the teams down there in that they're huff and puff, but they had the fight to get back to 2-2. I'd probably say deservedly so in terms of just the spread of the game. But Coventry have got the players, and I say they've got the players. You know, it was their defender, of course, that scored the winner. I think that's two.
Yeah,
is it
that
two
was a
in
beautiful
two
hit.
or two. It's two very quickly from Bobby Thomas. Yeah, he scored a couple in recent games. What a goal that is. Yeah, exactly that. Victor Torp is turned into one hell of a player as well. I remember when Luton went to Coventry and he scored a fantastic goal. I think to make it 2-2. I've tried to blank that game out of my memory, but he's one hell of a player. As you say, they've got such a good squad. And those sort of players in confidence are a scary prospect. So I think for this one, it's difficult to tell. Blackburn defending suicidal for the last game. Stoke are at home. 1-1. They'll start to pick up form just before they have to play Luton, of course, I think. And that's my start to that.
Yeah, I was very surprised that Sam Gallagher actually played for Stoke. I had no idea. Two very different but very good finishes from him, and Stoke were hard done by Cov to lose that game. However, I've backed Blackburn here, 1-0 away from home. I think, they've sort of lost grounds on the playoff picture. They'll pick it up. No win in their last three. A loss, a draw, a loss. And I think it's time to get back up on that horse for Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah, it's a momentum thing, isn't it? You're right. They're still within touching distance, aren't they? Where are they? 8th at the moment, currently on 3 points. I think 3.4 points off the playoffs. They're certainly within touching distance, but yeah, that momentum. I don't see them getting there personally, but yeah, I mean, from a perfectly biased point of view, from a Luton point of view, I hope you're right.
Yeah, whoever gets 6th place in the playoffs this season, they are limping into that 6th position.
Oh, they really are. Yeah, they really are, aren't they? Yeah.
Right. Sunderland versus Preston North End. Sunderland will be secure in the playoffs, I reckon.
Oh, yeah. They will be, in the same way that Borough were a couple of years ago. But I don't know how much this kind of more recent form is going to tell. Obviously, they won their last game away at Sheffield Wednesday, and I think they're going to win this one 2-1 as well. And so, I think for me, they've certainly not been very convincing since the automatics has gone, which it has now. I can't see any team clawing back. What is it? 8 points now they are from Sheffield United, so that's gone. Preston are a very tough team as well. Hard to break down, and as Hull showed, as long as you got that fight, if Preston get the first goal, it could be interesting. But yeah, I've gone 2-1 just. But yeah, I think Sunderland's confidence is concerning, because they have been so good, and we know how good their players can be. But a young squad, confidence goes in streaks, as we've talked about before. I won't mention the phrase "running out of steam." You'll probably do that.
I
for
will.
me. Yeah, I thought you might. So I'll leave that to you. Anyway, 2-1. I think they'll just get over the line here.
Yeah, look. If they're playing anyone else other than Preston, I'd be backing a Sunderland win. However, Preston, they've drawn 16 games this season, only lost 11. Osamic, he's a ridiculous player. He seems like a right shithouse as well, but a hell of a player. I've got 1-1 here. I don't think this is going to be an easy game. Preston are not going to be an easy team to break down. So, here we go. Sunderland running out of steam. And to be honest, unless they can properly prove that they can regain momentum, they're going to run out of steam before the playoffs hit. And no Sunderland fan wants to see that. And I don't think Sunderland fans deserve to not see their team get promoted this season, because Sunderland have been fantastic, proven so many people wrong.
Yeah, including us. I mean, you more so than me. I at least put them.
Predicted 17.
Yeah, you. It was crazy. I can't remember whether I predicted playoffs, but it was close. But yeah, I mean, they've been excellent. I think at the start of the season, I think it's fair enough. Nobody knew what Reggie Lebris was going to be like, right? Nobody really knew how his football was going to play out. It felt like he was third or fourth choice. It was so going to be Will Steele for so long, and all of that stuff fed into the narrative that they were going to have a disappointing season despite the money they've got behind him. But no, fair play to him. He's been excellent. They've played some of the best, if not the best attacking football in the league. And they've got so many players that can score goals. Just on a slight side note on that, I need to have a check on in terms of top scorers, but it doesn't feel like a season for number nines at all, or strikers. No. Even teams that are scoring lots of goals, they're sharing them out. There's not been that kind of
It's still Borja Sainz with 15.
Yeah, there's Borja Sainz, exactly. And a number 7.
15.
Yeah. So not even, and that's the thing. You're looking at players that are wingers, midfielders that are taking those. It's really interesting that we maybe that's just a change in the overall kind of tactics of the league, etc. But Sunderland are a good example of that. Isidore's done okay, although he's gone off the boil a bit. Yeah, he certainly has. But they've shared the goals around. They've got lots of players who can score, just like the other top teams. Anyway, who have we got next?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I would say on top scorers, Callum Robinson sitting third with 12 goals. That is a real surprise. I've never rated him as one for scoring many goals. We now have Hull City versus Oxford United. And need I tell you, Oxford United currently in the worst form in the league.
Yeah, they must be thanking their lucky stars, though, that the bottom three just are determined to stay there. I mean, it is, and that they went on the run. But they are how far away are they now? 7 points.
They're on 39 points.
Yeah, so that's 7 clear of Derby in 22nd, isn't it? Because they're on 32. They could get dragged into it, but one of those 3 teams, Luton, Derby, and Plymouth, and it's probably not going to be Plymouth or Luton. I don't really see it being Derby, that have got to start showing that they want to stay up. So I think they'll probably be safe. I've gone for a whole easy win, though, for the same reason you just said. I've gone for a 2-0. Hull are far too good to be down where they are. They've had all sorts of injuries, changes, and everything else. But I actually think Sellers' a decent manager, and he'll do all right with them next season when they've got a full squad back together. I think they'll be okay. It's crazy where they are compared to where we thought they might be and when they're expected to be. But then I think they're going to win this one comfortably, which I think will see them pretty much secure at that point. I know they've got to play a couple of teams down there, but still. 2-0 Hull.
I've gone 2-1 Hull. Imagine if I'd said Hull City instead of Bristol City when I said that stuff in the off-season about jokes in the league. I've pretty much nailed it with Stoke City. I think it gets a lot more attention purely because Luton Town have been one of the biggest jokes of all this season.
Of all time, I thought you were going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's getting there, isn't it? It's getting up to that level.
It is.
But Hull brought in a lot of players. Yes, takes a long time to gel. I rate Ruben Sellers. Oxford's, they could get dragged in because it's do or die now for Luton, Plymouth, and Derby have started throwing some punches as well. But I think Hull, this is where they reach that 40-point mark and sort of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. Leeds versus Millwall.
So, yeah, you might be tempted probably to go for a tight 1-1 or a 1-0 to Leeds, maybe with the win for Millwall and the loss to Pompey for Leeds. I don't buy it. I don't buy this being a change of things to come. Yes, they've only got 1 point from their last 2 games, and it's made things really tight at the top. I thought Leeds would run away with it, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. But I think at Elland Road, a night game on Wednesday, I think they're going to run through Millwall. They're not as tight, Millwall, as they have been earlier in the season. They still generally don't concede a huge amount of goals, but I just think Leeds are too strong at home for any team pretty much in the league. And so therefore I've gone for a 3-0 Leeds win. I think they're going to go back or revert back to what we knew 3 games ago, basically.
Is that interesting? I've gone 2-0 Leeds here. I do feel Millwall are tight defensively. Alex Neil as well, very savvy coach. I think he will come with a game plan to counteract Leeds, frustrate, time waste. But I still think Leeds will win 2-0. Yeah. It's hard to see otherwise, isn't it?
It is. It is. They've just been so strong all season that you can't see this anything other than a blip.
Yeah. Right, on to Norwich versus Sheffield Wednesday.
I found this one quite hard to call as well. I think both of these teams now are beyond the reach of the playoffs. And they're certainly not going down at either of them as well. It kind of shows a bit. Sheffield Wednesday won their last game, but it was at Plymouth. And, you know, most teams win at Plymouth. Not all teams. Most teams win at Plymouth. Lost 3 games before that. Norwich have been very unconvincing as well, drawing quite a lot of games, including against Oxford. And to be honest, they could have lost that game as well. I know Oxford were holding on, but towards the end, and were pretty savvy about keeping the lead. But they still conceded the odd couple of chances, and certainly not the strong team they were. Long and short of it, I've gone for 2-2. I just think this could be quite entertaining. Both teams with not a huge amount to play for, but both teams good going forward, but have shown vulnerabilities on the other end. So yeah, 2-2 for me is the logical prediction.
A Desmond.
Yes.
Well, funnily enough, you say they're both out of reach of the playoffs. I agree, but they're only 6 points and 7 points respectively away off the playoffs. But yeah, I do feel like without a run of form, stringing together 3 or 4 wins back to back, you're out of the playoff picture pretty much, because there's a whole massive team that are cobbling together good results, and it's all streaky from 6th to 13th. They're all streaky. I've gone for a 3-1 Norwich here because Josh Sargent, he's imperious. He's been scoring a lot. Onar Hernandez looked good when he came on in the last game. Unfortunately, they couldn't drag anything out, but Sheffield Wednesday, they've really gone off the boil. Like, they won their last game, but 3 back-to-back losses before then. And Norwich, I feel, well, they've only lost once in their last 4, but only won once in their last 5. Only 1 win in that run, though. The rest are draws. But yeah, 3-1 Norwich. Sargent inspired. Right, on to Sheffield United versus Bristol City.
Keep this brief. Sheffield United 1, Bristol City 0. Bristol City will come away from this wondering how they lost the game. That's how I feel it's going to go, as it had for most oppositions playing Sheffield United a lot of the time this season. I don't think it'll be convincing. Certainly won't be a classic. But yeah, Sheffield United find a way to win, don't they? And that Leeds result could have knocked them, but it hasn't. And fair play to them. They have got Burnley breathing down their necks in 3rd, but they've been consistently winning, and that takes a lot of bottle to do that. So fair play to Chris Wilder and Sheffield United. 1-0.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I've got 1-0 as well. Look, it's not sexy football, but know when your manager is Chris Wilder, you can't expect it to be sexy. Yeah, the football reflects the man. He looks like a sandwich. That's all I can say about that. On to Watford versus Swansea.
I've gone 2-0 Watford, as much as it pains me to say it. But then I thought about this long and hard, and I don't know whether I'm just kind of looking at general Swansea form. I have to give kudos to Swansea because they've, despite being seemingly nosediving towards the relegation zone, Alan Sheehan has taken that job and done brilliantly. And we love him. We love him at Luton. And as much as we wanted Swansea down there, being dragged down as well, Sheehan's done a great job. And he'll get a good managerial role. If it's not with Swansea, I think it'll be with a decent League One side or a lower end Championship side next season. So fair play to Alan Sheehan and fair play to Swansea. But I think Watford might win this one at home 2-0.
So I've gone for a 1-1 here purely based on the fact that Swansea's uptick in form, and I think it will continue. Watford, they don't look too inspiring going forward. Their goal against Millwall was pretty much from a corner. It was a very Millwall-esque goal, as I said in Champ Chat. Link in the description below. Whereas Millwall scored some nice goals. It's pretty much a case of get the ball to Chak Fatadze, have him run at you, and see if he can create anything. Other than that, without Bar, who also was a case of get the ball to him, let him run at you, they offer nothing. They offer absolutely nothing, but I still think they'll nick a goal here and they'll get a point and keep a point at Vicarage Road. Ryman, who is your lock of the week?
It's Hull City. Hull City to beat Oxford. Hull, as I said, good squad. Oxford's form is horrendous. Just can't seem to turn it around at the moment. Hull have got some fight about them to make sure that they steer clear of the relegation zone. So it's Hull to beat Oxford 2-0.
Shall I lock in Luton versus Cardiff and
No,
lock in the score? No, I won't.
No.
Right, okay. I'm going for Pompey versus Plymouth 2-0. That's my lock of the week.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah,
Much safer than the one you were talking about, that's for sure.
I'll have a look at the odds and
They won't even give you odds on that.
Yeah, they will. The bookmakers are always happy to take your money. That simple as they always are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But that's us done for yet another game week. We're going to stick the fixtures in the comment section below. So just grab it from the description, and copy, paste, put your predictions below. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, the like button they call it these days. And whoever you support, have a great week. Take care.